Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast here on a Sunday morning, uh, November 29th. Later here, we're going to start at 8 a.m. Here. Get this out here quickly before the football games start. I'm going to be riding solo today. No Tyler here today. He's out sick. Hopefully no virus, but my guess is it might be more related to the heritage, the Irish heritage. So hopefully he's recovering well. And then Casey, he's out on work. That's what happens when you do a construction job. Sometimes you get called out of the blue there. So both of them won't be with us this morning. So for the first time here on Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast, we're going to be riding solo, and hopefully we can give you guys still a good show here. And mostly just be talking NFL. We'll get you caught up on the situation there. Let's go for 2 segments and questions, and then get to the gambling segment as well. So it'll probably be a little bit shorter, but still be a good show for us here. With that said, I hope all of you out there had a good Thanksgiving. For me, it was a really good Thanksgiving. Good time to spend with my family. Really good time with the kids. Had some time off of work, so that was nice. Got to catch up with some good friends. Shout out my friend Matt, Adam, Brian. Let's do it. Let's do what's the saying on your hat, Adam? Let's do your job, as the Patriots saying. He's a Patriots fan there, so it was good seeing them. And so hopefully you guys, maybe on your break, were able to catch up with some family and friends, but also stay safe out there as well. So with that said, let's get right into the NFL here, into the segment. And it's kind of hard not to talk about the COVID situation. We've had feels like it's been a few weeks now. Feel like I was talking about it every week there for a while. But now it seems to be back. The last couple of weeks it's been hit a little hard. Steelers at Ravens were supposed to be played on Thanksgiving night. That was then moved to Tuesday. It sounded like one of their staff coaches didn't wear their mask in the facility, possibly, and maybe that was part of the spread. And so it looks like, I think it was 18 or 19 people are now possibly have this, are infected with the COVID now. So their game has been moved to Tuesday. I believe even their starting quarterback, Lamar Jackson, tested positive for it as well. So we'll see if even that Tuesday game goes on there. So that's just one of the things going on. We got the other one with the Broncos. They have all 3 of their quarterbacks out, plus like their 4th string quarterback that is also out for the game. So they're going to be starting their running back, Royce Freeman. So it'll be really interesting to see what they're able to pull off offensively. The Saints get a big break there. It should have been the favorite anyways, but now with no quarterback at all, you would think they would have a huge advantage. Kind of wonder if you're the Broncos. It seems a little unfair that the Ravens-Steelers game gets pushed back and yours has to kind of stay where it's at. But I guess maybe it's bye related. Maybe they've already had their byes or something like that. So I'm not sure. The NFL is also going to be shutting down their facilities on Monday and Tuesday, except for the games, except for the Monday night game and the Tuesday night game. So they obviously know this thing's really coming on strong, especially with the holiday season. They don't want to take any chances of missing any games with the season, being risked there. So that's a little note there. And then, locally here, the Niners, Santa Clara, which is about 2.5 hours north here of Sonoma County, has imposed no contact sports for their area, which is where the Niners play. Even though San Francisco, they actually play in Santa Clara. So for the next 3 weeks, they don't have a game this week at home, but the next 2 weeks they will. So they're going to have to figure something out. Maybe that means they go back to Kansas City or maybe Pac-Bell, or the Giants Stadium, but that Oracle now. And then you have, or maybe the Raiders over in Oakland. I don't know. The Niners are going to have to figure that out. That's going to be interesting to see if that, moves to maybe down to LA, if that's the Rams and the Chargers eventually. So I'm not sure. And that's the whole thing with the COVID now. It's like, I still have confidence with the Major League Baseball being able to finish, that the NFL will be able to finish their season. But, just at what point is the integrity of the season really going to start to be hit? And especially with the last month hitting and now the playoffs, like, are we going to have a situation like we're seeing now with Denver where, it's like, Packers make the playoffs, but Rodgers is out and their backup's out. It's like, it's just what point does it not really seem real? And that's the only thing to me that can kind of really tarnish the season. Not having the fans is one thing, but to me, the competitive balance in the sense of players being out because of injury is really the one thing I'm concerned about. So I really hope, and we're probably going to have a hard time getting the COVID under control. It's just not going to happen like that. So just hopefully the players can do a good job, staying safe, maintaining their distance, staying to the protocols. And, obviously from a selfish standpoint, I want to watch the games. I'm sure they want to, get their paychecks and get paid. So, like I said, just hopefully from a competitive balance standpoint, things can still move forward there. So with that said, let's move on to the Let's Go for Two segment. We're going to talk about two games. We'll look back at one game, look ahead to a game. Definitely not have the Cowboys involved in their fake reverse punts. We'll not be looking back at any of that. Gosh, what horrible call that was. First game, though, I do want to look back at is Kansas City versus Las Vegas last week. Kansas City ends up winning 35-31 on a final drive. Mahomes, under 2 minutes, just hot knife through butter, just makes it look easy. Reception, touchdown, game over. He ends up 34 for 45, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Kelsey ends up 127 with 1 touchdown. Carr ends up throwing 3 TDs with an interception, and Waller ends up with 88 yards and a touchdown as well. So I think we got a good look at 2 of the best tight ends in the league. I know if Tyler was here, he would definitely be saying that Kittle's in there, but I think Waller's right there. He's definitely got to be in the top 3. He's very impressive as well. The Chiefs, kind of forgot about it. It's kind of ridiculous to say this, but I didn't forget about Mahomes. But as other teams are starting to play better at the beginning of the year, and players are performing like Wilson and Murray, we start to talk about them as MVP contenders. But the reality is Mahomes is the best player, and he's 9-1. He should be the MVP. I mean, maybe Big Ben at 10-0, but it's like he has one more win. Mahomes' stats are just not quite as good as last year, but they're still really darn good. And it just feels like he's the best player. It almost is like the LeBron factor, Jordan factor. Like, just kind of get tired of voting for them, so they don't necessarily get the MVP. And that's not always the fair thing to do. But I feel like Mahomes just proved it once again. It's like, he is the MVP. What are we doing here? He's the best player. Like, Murray's nice. Wilson's nice, but this guy's the real deal for sure. He's the one that should be getting the award. From the Raiders standpoint, though, let's move on to them from this game. As a fan, I'm the only thing I'm happy with is like I'm not a big fan of moral victories or anything like that, but it was good to see Carr play good. And it's good to see the Raiders play the Chiefs tough. Maybe they can give them. Maybe they're the team. Maybe they're kryptonite in some ways, even though they won. So it'll be interesting to see if we can get a third matchup in the playoffs to see, the tiebreaker there between both teams, because the Raiders do play them very tough. They both teams couldn't stop each other at all. It was really cool to see their defense be able to keep Mahomes from throwing the deep ball. But, he still, checked his way down the field still. He never had a completion over 20 yards, I believe, until that last Kelsey touchdown there. So they did a good job of keeping everything in front of them. But 35 points is still 35 points. But maybe that's the reality. They had to score 40 last time to beat the Chiefs, and maybe that's the deal. They got to be able to score 40 points to be able to beat this team. So the good thing looking back at the game from Raiders standpoint is they're going to be a tough out for somebody. They could probably beat anybody. I don't think they can go on a run of 3 to 4 wins. I don't think they're built like that, but I think they definitely could beat a team or two. And I think if you're a top team in the playoffs, is somebody you don't really want to play because of their ability to run the ball with Jacobs. And when their offense is playing well, they can put up 30 points very easily. So it'll be interesting to see if the Raiders can keep the good season going and make the playoffs here for sure. And the Chiefs, of course, at 9-1, they're looking like one of the best teams in the league. So that's our look back from last week. Now we're going to do our look ahead here, and we're going to look ahead at the Titans and the Colts, division rivals, both 7-3, 10 a.m. game on CBS. It's not really teams that we discuss very often out here in California, but it's definitely an underrated rivalry game. Both teams seem to. The Titans, the Steelers obviously get a little bit more love, but it's a very physical series. It's a very physical, I feel like, series for the most part. I know the Colts have dominated the series overall. I think they're like 34-17 or something like that. But Manning was there for most of those years, and but the last 6 meetings they have split. They're 3-3, and like I said, it's for the division today. The Colts are coming off a good win against Green Bay. Green Bay, thank you for screwing me over on that one. Won't put money on you again after that. It's still hard for me to buy into Rivers, though. He's the question for me on the Colts. Like, I realize their defense is number one. Buckner being out and Taylor being out today won't help them at all. But it's really hard for me to completely buy into that team. I think that's why I have the Titans now, and I think I have the Titans in today's game. And I think I have the Titans moving forward between these two teams. I just, like I said, I think Rivers is the hiccup for me, and I know the defense is number one, but I still feel like there's holes in that defense as well. So I just kind of like the way the Titans have been. They're consistent. I know what I'm going to get from them. They're going to kind of play their game for 3 quarters, and hopefully Henry can pour it on for the 4th. Tannehill's been much better than I ever thought he would be. I continue to say that. He's just, you come almost to the point where you can trust him now to make good decisions and make good plays. And I'm sure if you're a Titans fan out there, you're definitely have more confidence in him than you ever thought you would have when you first got him. So I just feel like this is an underrated series, and I kind of wanted to bring this game up. I feel like they don't, being the South, we're in California, we just don't really watch this one enough, and so I'm looking forward to this game. I really like the Titans in this one, though, but I expect it to be a hard-hitting game for sure. So that's our look. That's our let's go for 2 segment. Looking ahead to the Chiefs, or looking back at Chiefs Raiders, and then looking ahead here to Titans Colts this morning. Well, the other thing about the Titans too that impressed me as well is AJ Brown. I got to mention him, but I watched him last week against Baltimore, and that's the thing. Other things about the Titans against Baltimore. I mean, what an impressive win on the road there. But AJ Brown, I mean, he's like Henry with the ball. I mean, he's just running people over as a wide receiver. So he is well kind of. T.Y. Hilton has disappeared for the Colts. So I just feel like that's the team moving forward here. So I really like the Titans in this game. So like I said, that's our let's go for 2 segment. I'll be back here to wrap it up with the dump and run segment. We'll do 3 questions, and we'll get back with the gambling segment. So we'll be right back. All right, and we're back here on the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast, back with the dump and run segment. 3 questions in 30 seconds, but in this case, a minute and 30 seconds, right? You got to add up all the time. So I'm going to go a little bit longer today. Top 3 division rivals is our first question. What are the rivalry games? First of all, I just love division games. I love playing them in Madden. I love watching them on TV. And for me, a lot of the times it's the helmets, it's the, just the mystique between a lot of these. And I didn't want to do all my favorite teams, all Raiders versus all 3 teams in the division. So I'm just going to pick one of their games. For me, my favorite division game to watch is Steelers Ravens. I mean, I feel like for the last 15 years, like it's been a legitimate series. And when they meet, it's big games. They've met in the playoffs a few times. They have really good players on their teams. And I'm legitimately scared for other people's lives on that show, or when I'm watching them play. Like they are hitting each other hard. They are running hard. And if I'm a player with the ball, I'm trying to get down a little bit watching them play. So that's just been a great series when you go all the way back to Lewis and Suggs and Ward and Polamalu. Just a really good rivalry there. So definitely number 1, Ravens Steelers. Number 2 for me is Broncos Raiders. I think a lot of people like the Chiefs Raiders rivalry as well, but I feel like going to the games with my dad there for all those years, it just felt like the Broncos brought on the most hatred. I know the Raiders brought on a lot of hatred for every team, but the Broncos, you hear about Raiders Week and stuff like that. That rivalry, being in the parking lot for those games was just felt more violent than the rest of them. I just felt like there was more intensity. It felt like the teams had that there too. And, they weren't even always good playing each other as well. So that's to me number 2 rivalry. Number 3, I know I'm going to get a couple of boos out here, but I like Eagles Dallas. There's something about that rivalry I like. This year, definitely not liking it. Very horrible teams, but for the most part, they usually have pretty good games. I feel like both teams are usually really relevant at the top of the division there. And some about their logos too, played against each other. Just to me, that's one of the best rivalries too. So I enjoy that one. Also, I kind of like the Falcons Saints, and then of course Tennessee Indianapolis. Those are also a couple division rivalry games I like as well. So yeah, be curious if you guys have any comments on your division, on any rivalry game you like. Let me know. So question number 2: top running backs in order that we have in the NFL. Before I answer the question, I just kind of want to say that to me, the running back position is the one that gets screwed the most over by this college rule, where you have to wait to come out 2 years, or you can come out 2 years if you've redshirted. Then you have to be out as a junior if you haven't. And I just feel like at that position, they take such wear and tear, even in college. By the time they get to the NFL, it's like they're not getting. They sign their rookie deal, which is 5 years. They're kind of beat up. They don't always get that next contract. So I just feel like the running back position in general is really. I mean, I know there's a lot of good running backs out there, and you can get a lot of different ones, but I just feel like it's really important when you do have like that one horse that you can really depend on back there. And I think we are kind of losing some of that because we don't have the players have to run so much in college. They're dependent. They're usually in a lot of cases the best player on their college teams, and so they're used a lot. Their usage rate is up in college, and it's usually up in the NFL. So they usually get beat up, and I don't know. It just seems like that position takes a hit, and I'd like to see them get a little bit more respect to that position. So my top 3 running backs in order, I'm going to go with Delvin Cook out of Minnesota. I just love his power and speed, and even his ability to catch in the backfield. Just everything about him. Just I know like he's hurt a little bit, injury prone, but man, when he's on the field, there's just something about him. He just seems so special. Like, and he doesn't even I know he doesn't even have the aura of some of these other guys. It's just for me, he's the guy that he's number 1. To me, number 2 is Tamara. Just the fact that he's like basically a receiver at running back, and then he's a really good running back too. Puts him at number 2. The Saints are just when he's not there, there's not nearly as dynamic because of his ability to catch out of the backfield. And then number 3 was hard for me because you have McCaffrey and Henry, but I'm going to lean towards Henry a little bit more. I just love him running the ball, just watching him run, just the power ability he has, knocking people over, stiff arming them. And I just like how he wears people down, and then he has the speed to break the big one still. And he just keeps getting up and moving. He's not a big complainer as a running back. He's not a big showboat or anything. So I've always liked that part of him as well. I know McCaffrey might be the guy that should be on this list because of his ability as well. But you know what? It's my list. And those are the 3 I got. So I got Cook number 1, Kamara 2, and I got Henry number 3. Again, to me, the running backs just don't get enough respect in general. Again, I think that college rule has a lot to do with it. Third question here on the Dump and Run is top 3 NFC teams that I have confidence in. Now, I kind of worded it like this because it should be, and I don't have any confidence in the NFC. I don't have confidence in any of the teams because it just seems like you could just pick their name out of a hat and, yep, that team could beat that team on that day. So that's kind of what I did. I feel like, no, I'm just kidding. I personally like the Cardinals in 1 there. See, I feel like I know that everybody would be like, well, that's crazy. No, that's nuts. But I don't know. I mean, like Murray sometimes there's special seasons, and it feels like he has that ability to have one this year. Like maybe some breaks would go his way. I feel like the Cardinals they're right there, and they have Hopkins playing at a high level. I just kind of feel like I just trust Murray, I guess, a little bit more this year because he just seems like he's having one of those kind of crazy special years. And I just like that addition of Hopkins to give him a little bit of energy. They've won a few. They won that Hail Mary game. So I have confidence in the Cardinals. I know it's going to sound crazy, but I feel like that team I have just as much confidence in as any other team in the NFC. Second team, I'm going to go with the Saints, basically because Sean Payton at this point. He's a really good coach. Nothing really to say about it. If Winston's in, I expect them to be competitive. If Hill's in, I expect them to be competitive. And their defense is really good this year, which isn't always the case with the Saints. So I like the Saints barely. I mean, barely as my second confidence team. And number 3, I got Seattle. Main reason for them is basically Wilson. I have no confidence in their defense. So that means all the confidence is basically in Wilson and DK Metcalf to carry that team. Like I said, you could throw Tampa in there. You could throw Green Bay in there. They might have they have good quarterbacks as well, but none of them have been able to put the offense together and really be a juggernaut yet. The Saints have the best record at 8-2, but again, it's like they don't really feel like a dominant 8-2 team, and so that's why I kind of like the Cardinals just for their offense and just their ability to maybe surprise a few people. And they have to me the most dynamic quarterback in terms of speed, obviously, and then ability to throw the ball as well. So I'm gonna kind of go out on a limb there, and I'm gonna go with the Cardinals as my team I have the most confidence with in the NFC. But in general, no confidence in the NFC at all. So that's our dump and run segment there with the 3 questions this week. If you got any comments on those, please be sure to let me know. All right, let's get on to the gambling segment. We'll finish this thing up. Came off a good week last week, 5-0. First 5-0 week for me. Unfortunately, was not the week I put money on it. I put money on a different game, and I ended up losing. So that's usually how gambling works out. That's usually why I don't do it very often. Also, the Dolphins, who I had to win the division, they had a terrible loss to Denver, so that really took a bad week for me last week. Standings overall for our gambling segment. I went 5-0, like I said. Tyler went 1-4. Casey 1-2. That puts the overall records. Casey at 19-24. Tyler at 22-23. Me at 28-21. So I'm starting to really point that arrow up, guys. So you better start getting on your game and picking better. Hopefully I can have another 5-0 this week and jump over that 30 mark there for sure. Fantasy player of the day, I got wanted to give you that. I got Mike Evans this week. I just feel like whenever he kind of has a suspect week, he usually has a really big week the next week. If it's not them looking for him in the goal line end zones, he ends up with a few maybe fade touchdowns. Not always the big yards, but they kind of seem to look for him a little bit more in the end zone. Brady likes to keep his guys happy, realizes they haven't got enough touches, and I think it's important for him to keep his guys happy. Hopefully, it's not just Antonio Brown he's trying to keep happy. So I'm going to go with Mike Evans as the fantasy player of the day. So 5 picks this week. I'm going to go with Cleveland, or actually, let me start out with at Clint Highshoe's picks. He's missed the last few weeks. He tweeted me his picks yesterday, so let me get his picks out here first. He's got Cleveland at -7 versus Jacksonville. He's got Tennessee at +3 versus Indianapolis. He's got Kansas City at -3.5 versus Tampa Bay. He's got the Rams at -6.5 versus the Niners, and he's got the New Orleans Denver over at 37. So jumped in on that over at that low mark. Now that Royce Freeman's the quarterback, good meal there. That's a smart decision. So at Clint Highshoe again, those are his picks this week. My 5 picks. I'm going to go Cleveland -7 versus Jacksonville. I just like Cleveland duo there with Chubbs and Hunt, and it does bum out that Beckham Jr. is not available. I feel like that really hurts Baker Mayfield, just even to kind of lay off that running game a little bit. So, but I do like Cleveland to beat Mike Glennon and the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jacksonville's 3rd-string quarterback. So I like them to win by 7 this week. I like the Chargers to beat Buffalo, but the Chargers are also getting 4.5. So I like the Chargers in that game for sure. Herbert just continues to amaze with his quarterback play, throwing over 300 yards. I mean, just every time he's pretty incredible to watch out there. Vegas, out of Atlanta, I got the over at 54. The Raiders have got the over, I think, 8 out of 10 times this year. So I just really like, they just seem to be able to score 30 points and they'll be able to give up points. So I like the over there. My last 2, I got Arizona over New England. They got 2. They're giving 2 points. It's going to be a tough game for Arizona. I feel like New England's Belichick's going to probably do a good job with Murray. He'll probably spy him, probably mix up some blitzes. Be very interesting to see how Murray handles Bill Belichick's defense today. But I like. I'm going to take the young guy. I'm going to take Cardinals to win that one by a field goal and cover that spread there. And then the last game, I got Carolina and Minnesota. I got the under at 51. Carolina's been scoring really well these last few weeks. So I'm going to not say they're going to score so well this week, and I'm going to take the under at 51. So again, I got Cleveland, Chargers, Vegas over, Arizona, and the Carolina, Minnesota under this week for my 5 picks. So again, I was 5-0 last week, so I have confidence people in me to get those picks right, even though a couple weeks ago I was 1-4. So that's how it goes sometimes in the gambling world. So with that said, that's our podcast this week. A little bit shorter version, like I said. Hey, mad respect to the guys out there that do the podcast by themselves. My guy I don't know sports, but does his podcast by himself. Makes it look really easy. It's actually a lot harder than it seems. So much respect out to you guys that do that by yourselves and keeping the content going. Thanks for listening. Hope all of you had a good Thanksgiving out there. Please remember to subscribe to Tyler or to us on Twitter at Fatboy FadeAway. I'll be doing that Twitter account. You can also follow us on Instagram at Fatboy FadeAway Sports. Tyler runs that one over there, and then you can follow Tyler personally at Tyler MGUIRK, and my brother Casey at Casey 9504017. 26. What a Twitter account that is. So again, I'll be tweeting this week at Fatboy FadeAway Sports. Please be sure to like and subscribe, pass it on to your friends, let them know. We're up over 30 subscribers, so appreciate to you guys out there that have been listening to us. We're just enjoying putting out content, and we just love sports. We love talking about it, and just hopefully it's something different for you guys. I encourage you guys to listen to other podcasts out there and get a feel for other news outlets, the way other people see the world, see sports. So with that said, enjoy the games out there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week.